It's going to go live on Instagram. Christine is here. There, we're now live on Instagram. Morning, welcome. Monday morning, a little bit more of a focus on the breath. And I was just exploring some stuff, particularly over the weekend, running, going into a bit longer runs, endurance running, and again, just focusing on where the breath goes. And I just wanted to explore the difference between, or is there a difference between diaphragmatic breathing and chest breathing? Because it seems to be that a lot of the stuff that you read is very black and white. We're either breathing with a diaphragm or we're breathing with the chest. But I just want to really emphasize that we're breathing with that whole space, that whole unit. It really is just where, I suppose, where the emphasis is. So we'll just have a little play around with that. I know we've done it before, but if you're new to the session, it's always good to check that out. And if we have done it before, it's always good to have that little bit of a refresher. But let's start off finding a space where you have room in front and behind. So we're going to do a little bit of movement first, a little bit of mobilization, space forwards and backwards. Take your feet shoulder width apart. Get nice and supported and stable on the ground, and then lifted and lengthened through the crown. And we're just going to knocking, just gently moving from the hips and the waist. Got a nice creak through my spine then. And the face is relaxed, lips are lightly together, tongue just resting very gently on the roof of the mouth, or tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. So the breath, you don't even have to think about how you're breathing. The breath is just very light and soft in and out through the nose. Keep lengthening and lifting through the crown, so you're connecting to the sky through the crown of your head. And those feet connecting to the ground. If it feels comfortable for you, just glancing over the shoulder a little bit more, so we get a bit more of a rotation, a bit more of a twist through the spine. But if this is painful, then stop, and you must make sure we're not leaning back, that you're not craning your neck. So keep that idea of the spine tall, central, rotational axis, and just glancing behind. Keep the drive from the hips and the waist as well. Feel if and where maybe you feel that little bit of restriction or a little sticky bit. But making sure we're not forcing anything. And then just slowing it down, coming back to facing predominantly forwards, slowing it down into water waves. Still keep lifting and lengthening through the spine, relaxing into the shoulders. Softening and relaxing into the shoulder blades. then just standing for a moment, bringing your feet a little bit closer underneath the hips. Just stand tall. You can open the palms if you want, open the shoulders, or just stand with the hands just by the sides. And then stepping back out and bringing our hands, finding these lower ribs. So come down, find where your sternum is, and you'll find that little soft bit almost like at the end of the sternum there. Have a little dig around it. Don't do anything if it feels uncomfortable. If you just had a big breakfast, don't do too much prodding, but just have a feel around these lower ribs. And if you feel under the lower ribs, you'll find the muscle there, the diaphragm. You can have a little prod of the diaphragm. Again, please don't do anything if it hurts or is painful. And then just bringing your hands onto the lower ribs. I've got my thumbs there right into the ribs in the back as well, right at those lower ribs in the back. Stand tall again. So making sure you're nice and supported and stable on the floor. You can take your feet hip width apart or shoulder width apart, a little bit wider. And then let's take 3 slow, deliberately fuller breaths. So we're increasing the volume of air that we're breathing in, and we're breathing to move these ribs out. So you can put a little bit of pressure on the ribs there as you breathe in. See if you can move those ribs out to the side, and importantly, feel the space in the thumbs. Feel the ribs coming out into the thumbs. So just 3 slow, deliberately fuller breaths, just so we can really feel those ribs moving. All in and out through the nose. Shoulders are relaxed. Shoulders are down. And then take a moment, just give your arms a little bit of a shake. And now, just with that in mind, where you felt the breath, just breathe normally in and out through the nose, but just visualize those ribs expanding and softening. Visualize breathing into the back. And there will be that little bit of movement. We're not breathing as full. And what you may notice is to get that movement, particularly in a standing position, of the ribs down, the ribs out and into the back there. You might feel the reaction of the breath or the response of the breath lower down. So let's bring the focus. There's your belly button. There's the base. I've just put my heart rate monitor on because I'm going to go running after this, and I'm prodding a heart rate monitor. There's the base of your sternum. There's your belly button. So go in between that space and just put a little bit of pressure there. Now, if it feels uncomfortable, do stop. I don't want you to do anything that feels uncomfortable. And then notice how that area responds. Again, you can turn the volume up just a little bit. We don't want to force anything. If you feel those ribs moving slightly, if you breathe into the back, how this area responds to that. Keeping the face relaxed, keeping the shoulders relaxed, keeping above the sternum relaxed or soft. And then we can come a little bit lower. So there's your belly button. We're going to come about 3 finger widths down from the belly button. Again, if this feels uncomfortable, do not do it, but just put that little bit of pressure below the belly button. So I'm just digging my fingers in slightly, just below the belly button. And notice how that area reacts. Again, you can turn the volume up a little bit if you need to. Notice if you do turn the volume up, the breath slows, because if we slow the breath or if we turn the volume up, we take more volume in the one breath. So just noticing how that area responds to the breath. And then have a little bit of a shake out. Bringing the palms to the chest, or to the sternum now. So your palms are in line with the sternum, or heart center if you want to focus on the heart center. It's a nice focus. So palms facing each other, pressing together. So you're lifting the elbows a little bit. That keeps the shoulders down. And then we're just going to do heart to sky. So we're going to breathe in, and you're just going to lift the sternum up towards the sky. And then we're going to breathe out, and we're actually going to do almost like a little bow there. So you're just going to round the back. So we're just doing a little bit of work here on that upper back, thoracic spine, and opening the chest here. And here we're just breathing with the movement. And we're keeping that breath easy in and out through the nose. We're keeping the face relaxed. Going at your own pace. Really visualizing lifting your heart up towards the sky, or sternum up to the sky, whatever works for you. But this is really working on this upper back here, this upper spine, this thoracic spine. Let's do 2 more. And then just bringing your hands down by the side, have a little shake if you need a shake. And then just resting your hands, or one hand, 2 hands, whatever feels comfortable for you, just on the sternum. And I want you to notice, again, just taking slightly fuller breaths, just turning the volume up a little bit, how that area responds. So notice, hopefully, that there is a bit of movement there, but we're not hoiking and pulling and using all of these accessory muscles to breathe in. So what can often get confusing for myself as well is when you read a lot of stuff which talks about, oh, you should be belly breathing or diaphragmatically breathing and not chest breathing. It suggests that you only breathe in one area. And it's really important that we allow the breath to make sure that there's space up here to breathe into. But there's a big difference between feeling that subtle expansion of the chest there as opposed to just pulling all the breath up there. So what I'd like to do now is just bring the focus back down, and it's not trying to compartmentalize it, but you're thinking almost like breathing low first and then it coming up. So just think of almost like belly, then ribs, then chest. But I don't want you to do it belly, ribs, chest. I want you just to notice the space. So breathing down, and that breath comes up, and then as you breathe out, use whatever place you want to place your hands, or whether you want to stand with your palms facing forwards, but just that focus low and then expanding and opening here subtly. And as you go about today, if you're out walking or if you're doing a little bit of exercise, if you're out running, so just like steady exercise, endurance exercise, not strength training or power training, because the breath is very different with that. But if you're doing some sustainable endurance exercise, which is walking, running, etc., just have this in mind. Just play around with low, breathing low first, or feeling the reaction of the breath low. And then just that expansion up here, because remember the lungs come right up to here. If we restrict, if we think, oh, he shouldn't be chest breathing, and we start to tighten everything up here, then we're not using that whole space. And even though we're not taking a big volume of air every time we breathe in, we're not taking a full volume of air, we still want to be able to use all of that space. So what we're noticing as we're breathing in, here's the diaphragm moves down. So if you're feeling these ribs expand, move outwards and upwards, then that diaphragm is moving down. If you're feeling that pressure here, i.e. just above the belly button, just below the belly button, you're feeling the diaphragm move down and create what we call intra-abdominal pressure. So it's the pressure of the diaphragm moving down. It's not air in the abdomen. Pressure of the diaphragm moving down. That pushes against the abdominal wall, which is why you are hopefully feeling that little bit of pressure out. When you breathe in, pushing the fingers out. As you breathe out, fingers will sink back in. If we're feeling that breathing into the heart center, which is often used, is then that breath is coming up here. We've got some nice flexibility in that upper spine. We've got some nice flexibility in the rib cage to allow the breath, however much air we need up here to come into the upper chest. So it's not as simple as belly breathing is good, chest breathing is bad. We need to use that whole system or that whole space. It just depends on the emphasis and the volume. Let's just go to one more position now. So just shake out, and then we'll finish off with a little bit of flow where you can maybe just tune into some of those little focuses we've had. So another position is go slightly wider in the feet. So you're going most probably a hip and a half width apart. We're just resting gently on the thighs. Make sure you're not putting loads of pressure on the knees, but you're doing more work with the glutes and the legs. So I could take my hands off the thighs a little bit if I needed to. We can free up here, free up the first rib, the top of the chest. And then just feel the breath now. I want you to really focus on breathing into the lower ribs in the back. Do you know where you had your thumbs like that? It might have felt a little bit more challenging. When we go into this position, it's a little bit easy. If you want to put your hands on the ribs, you can do, or just keep the hands on the thighs. Just breathing into the back. Notice maybe one side is a little bit more space than the other. Remember, we're not symmetrical. So we've got the liver on the right hand side, the lungs slightly different size, right hand side, left hand side, heart in the more left space. Just see if we can notice that breath lower down in the back. Lower lobes of the lungs. And again, you can increase the volume if you want to increase the volume, and then just play around with it. Increase the volume so you really notice it, so you really bring your focus to that space or that place. But then just breathe light and see if you can still notice that space, still be aware of subtle micro movements in that space. Good, and then when you're ready, just coming up to standing. It should feel, even though you're putting yourself into maybe a little bit more challenging position, it should feel quite calming and relaxing. If it doesn't, if it starts to feel painful or strained, then you just stop. Okay, let's have a little bit of a shake. We will do 7 minutes of flow. Again, don't overthink it, but just bear in mind as we do going through the flow where you feel the breath, where you notice the breath maybe a little bit more. Let's get the legs shaking a little bit, tapping the heels into the ground, get that vibration through the body. Let's do a bit of a cleansing and clearing breath. So we're breathing in and then letting go. And we're going up onto the bubbling springs, onto the ball of the foot. Breathe in and let go. Let's do one more. Breathe in and let go. Back to a bit of shaking. Let's do open the flow. Breath in and breath out. Here we're just going very calm, soft breath in through the nose, out through the nose. No sound. See if you can notice the breath low. Let's go alternate arms on the next in-breath. Quite like alternate arms because it almost like creates that space as well, so you can maybe focus on the different side of the ribs where we're breathing into, not forcing, not straining. Maybe one arm feels a little bit heavier than the other. Maybe one arm just floats up, the other arm doesn't feel as easy. Or they maybe both feel exactly the same, but it's these small, subtle things that you can notice. And back to both. And then just take a rest for a moment, standing. Just letting the breath settle. Somebody's asked a question on Instagram which I can't read. When we're breathing in different areas, do we need a pause, or it depends on what we want to do? I think there's always that, it's that change of direction. Don't worry too much about a pause. Think about how we are moving. This movement as you're breathing in, then there's a change of direction. So that's almost like the pause or the stillness at the top and the bottom of the breath. That's what's quite nice about breathing with a movement or moving with the breath. So don't deliberately think, oh, I've got to stop here or stop there. But in a way, there is a natural change of direction at the top, natural change of direction at the bottom. Next movement, let's do Buddha holds up the earth, breathing in. And you'll see there's almost a little pause before you breathe out. And again, go at your own comfortable pace. You don't necessarily have to follow me or anyone else on the Zoom session. Let's do one more. Just very light, soft, effortless breathing. And then interlocking your thumbs, bringing the feet together. And just standing for a moment with your eyes closed, just allowing the body just to very gently move however it wants to. Bamboo in the wind. And now taking a calm, full breath in through the nose. So we're expanding the breath a little bit more volume. Stepping out, gentle brush down. Have a little play with that. Again, don't overthink it, but just as you're walking around today, if you do a little bit of walking or running or whatever, just think about where you notice the breath, and we're not separating diaphragm from chest. It's that whole unit that breathes as one, but it's the emphasis of where you notice the breath. Keep the relaxation here. Reduce any tightness and tension in the shoulders. Thank you as always for jumping in, and I will see you on, I was going to say on Thursday, on Wednesday for the movement session. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye. Bye bye.